think so.
We are now.
Now you're recorded.
Okay. I think, well, when you, like I say, I appreciate giving me a little extra time there, trying to figure out where I left off. You know, as I said, we're revenue enhancement, cost reduction consultants. Our whole purpose is to go into business and improve EBITDA, you know, ROI, whatever name you want to give it. And on the expense side, like I mentioned, it's all done on a contingent basis. So if we don't find a savings for a company, they're not going to pay me. On the 4 flagships that I mentioned, it's built into there, so they won't pay me for those things either. You know, whether that be the healthcare benefits, shipping, virtual payments. One thing on shipping I want to mention, if I didn't, I'm talking about small parcel up through LTL. We can go all the way to seagoing, but the niche is small parcel LTL. Small parcel is anything larger than a number 10 envelope. And to save 20 to 30% of that shipping cost, that's a huge number for most businesses. The average business that does, you know, extensive shipping, they're looking at 5 to 10% of their overhead is shipping. And if I can reduce that by 20, 30%, that's a pretty good number for them. I mentioned the healthcare. I do some on the expense side, like I say, work comp, merchant fees, shipping. Shipping's a different one. That's UPS, FedEx, where you're getting charged for same day and it's 4 days later it shows up. So we're just auditing those areas. I mentioned the 4 tax reduction programs. That includes cost segregation, property tax reduction, R&D tax credits, and WOTC, work opportunity tax credits. Right now with WOTC, I can't tell you what's going on from day to day due to COVID. They just keep changing things in Washington on a daily basis. I do have a website you can go to and you can look for 6 different tax credits in 60 seconds on there. You just plug in the numbers and I'll put that in the chat along with my contact information.
Oh, that's great. And Dave serves on our board of directors for the Summerlin Rotary Club. And he, I'm sure, keeps an eagle eye on our expenses and where we could save a buck here or there.
Do the best I can on that one.
Thank you so much. And Dave Cabral, would you like to just briefly tell the group about our advertising program?
Yeah, so in the past we've had advertisements on our placemats when we had breakfast, but in an effort to kind of replace that, both for our members and promoting their businesses and a little bit of revenue for the club, we switched the advertising, since we're not meeting, to digital. And so now we have, you can buy, we have 2 couple packages available, one where you can buy the whole package, or another where you can just pick out a couple of the items that you want to do, but you can advertise in the newsletter, on the website, be a sponsor of the club meetings, be a sponsor of our professional development series. Information on that, you can see it on your screen right now, and it is also in the newsletter that Michael Turner sends out. So that probably will answer all your questions, but if you have more questions, ask me, Michael Turner, or Glenn Ritt. We've all worked on this project together.
And we so appreciate the innovative approach that the Vocational Service Committee has taken to this. And we've raised some money, and this goes into Michael Turner's charitable budget for next year. And that's how we can do all of our good work. Our next portion of the program is exciting. We are inducting a new member this morning, and we're honoring her sponsor. Jill Branson is sponsoring Kimberly Alexander this morning, and our past district governor, Lee Weber, is going to do the induction. Take it away, Lee.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Kimberly, we are grateful, not seeing your picture yet, but we are grateful that you are doing this. We certainly celebrate your decision, and we applaud your wisdom for seeking to become a part of the Summerlin Rotary Club. We find that being a Rotarian is an exciting experience. So as you contemplate becoming the Rotarian, no doubt you're wondering, what is Rotary about and what can Rotary do for you? And I want to share with you just a few things. One, it's an opportunity to build great friendships. I think it's more as you get involved in Rotary, you will find friendships beyond just our local club, literally friendships that you can build around the world. You will hear some absolutely fabulous people who are out there in the community doing things, really cool things to serve and strengthen and enhance the quality of our community. You'll get to meet some people that probably you would never meet otherwise. Will have many opportunities to do some really great service in the community. You will discover things through Rotary that you may not know of exist, and there are opportunities to improve, build, grow many places in the community where you can serve. In Rotary, you will expand your worldview. You will understand pretty quickly that Rotary is worldwide and touches people all over the world. I'll give you just a personal example. The shirt that I am wearing today came from Bangladesh, where a young man who is a world famous photographer already calls me Dad because he lost his dad, and we were just communicating, as Rotarians, and now I have a new family member, which I'm really excited about. The other thing that Rotary will do for you, Kimberly, is it will expose the underbelly of the world. You will see places where there is tremendous need. You will have opportunities through the Rotarian magazine, through events in the club and beyond the club, to understand the fullness of the needs that are out there in the world. You will also see in those places of great anguish and need, Rotary. They're doing work. Rotary, they're making a difference. Rotary, they're changing the world that people live in and making it better. So Rotary is a really great experience. It's not a meeting, it's not a club, it's not something you do or go to. It's an experience to have. What will you do for Rotary, Kimberly? That will always be the question, and we hope that certainly you will offer yourself in friendship and service with us, and that you will attend on a regular basis to our meetings and build those friendships and fellowships. And we hope that you will help us as a club to build, to grow, and certainly always to serve. So we welcome you, and we are grateful for your decision. Thank you, Jill, for finding Kimberly and bringing her to this point. And we hope for both of you that this will be a memorable experience and start of a great life in Rotary.
Oh, thank you, Lee. That was lovely.
Thank you,
And
Lee.
Jill Branson is her sponsor, and Jill is receiving a sponsor pin for sponsoring Kimberly. That's a new initiative from our membership committee, honoring people who find Rotary. Jill, would you like to say a few words about Kimberly?
I would. I'd like to say that she's going to be an absolutely awesome addition to our family. And she has quite a list of places where she has volunteered and been active, which is like St. Jude,
American Cancer
American
Society.
Cancer Society. Oh yeah, there's a list, Project 150. There's also the Las Vegas Rescue Mission. She's been very active in those things. So she's already asked about what committee can I get on? I mean, she's ready to just jump in.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go, Kimberly. And now, normally, we would give you a lovely pin, which you'll receive in the mail, probably today. And you'll receive four-way test coin. And this is another initiative from our membership committee. And as I see you out in the community, I'll begin giving those out. And we welcome you to our club. Normally, we'd have kind of a little receiving line. I see you're getting chat messages. But tell us about yourself briefly, Kimberly.
Well, my past career was 30 years in pharmacy. And so I decided to join my husband in the business, and we started a team. So this is my 4th year as a realtor, and I just love what I do. My passion is working with seniors in the senior community, so it's 55 plus, and I'm probate certified, and I just have a passion for giving back and being involved. I just want to give. And so I am so humble to be inducted today and to be a part of all of this. I'm super excited to learn and grow with all of you.
We will give you many opportunities to do that. Our club prides itself on diversity. And for those of you who haven't met my little friend right here with me, I think we're the only club in Las Vegas to have a puppet as a member, and he participates in service projects. Jill Branson had him working on Saturday, and this is Ronnie Summers, just in case you want to know. He was inducted by District Governor Greg Jones, along with Michael and Maxine at one of our previous meetings. So we welcome you, Kimberly. We'll give you lots of chances to engage. And now we're going to move on in the program.
I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Okay, Michael Turner is going to introduce our speaker this morning. Michael, are you with us? We can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm with us. I was just changing the slides here.
All right.
This morning's speaker will highlight the beginning of the Summerlin Rotary Club's signature project, a child sex trafficking awareness campaign here in Clark County, Nevada. A committee is working diligently on developing and implementing the project, which is scheduled to launch in July of 2021. The genesis for the club's project comes from Rotary District 5280 in the Los Angeles area. There are some 60 clubs that are under the umbrella of a Rotary district. In 2017, then District Governor Cosette Vergere established a child sex trafficking task force, and I was their senior assistant governor for communications and worked with Cosette on the project. Our speaker today, Lynn Green, will paint a picture to highlight the issue of child sex trafficking in Clark County. She is the manager of victim services and human trafficking for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and she is also manager of the Southern Nevada Human Trafficking Task Force and the Responder Support Team in Clark County. Lynn also serves on the Survivors and Providers Stakeholders Forum of the National Mass Violence and Victimization Resource Center. Let's welcome Lynn Green.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you so much for having me. And over the next 10 minutes or so, it's going to be like drinking through a fire hose. So we're going to go through a lot of information quickly, but I really hope is that we will use this time to start conversations that will continue long after this meeting, because in 10 minutes, there's no way to really cover the scope and answer all of the questions. So first of all, do we have the PowerPoint available?
Yes. Michael?
If not, I can move on without it. really what I want to do is, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that misinformation can actually cause a lot of harm in terms of identifying potential victims and providing services. So I really want to focus a little bit on that. Thank you. Next slide. So looking at some of the myths versus the realities, there's a lot of information out there to parents. Victims are being abducted. Be careful at the mall. Be careful in the parking lots. Children are being kidnapped. That's a myth. We have maybe 5 or 6 kidnappings on average a year across the country. What happens is recruitment happens at home. It starts when children are online and parents don't know where they are. And I can't imagine that many parents would say, go ahead, go down some dark alleys at midnight and then just come on home when you're done walking down those dark alleys. That's what the internet becomes for some of these children. So knowing where your children are in the virtual world, as well as understanding what some of these websites are about, understanding the basics around Instagram and some of that, that you're going to know that your children maybe have social media footprint. That's where recruitment begins. And it literally is a recruitment process. The other myth is it's usually a violent crime. What we know is that it's very rare, and it does happen, I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's very rare that a trafficker is going to recruit someone and start beating them immediately. What happens is it's a psychological process. They believe that this person cares about them. This person's filling a need in their life. So as a result of that, they develop a bond, a relationship that's very challenging to break, even when there is violence introduced, even when that person is fearful. They will often protect the trafficker. Next slide. So the problem that we have when we have misinformation out there about child sex trafficking is it distorts the reality of what trafficking is really about. So for example, when you see images of victims that are bound in chains and held in closets and badly beaten, when you see a victim that's walking down the street and they appear to be smiling and they look clean, we say, maybe they're not really a victim. Maybe this was their choice. So the problem is the images, those graphic images of people held in chains, creates a false image. And therefore it distorts our reality of what we're looking at when we're looking at child sex trafficking. And it also puts the victims at risk, because when cases go to court, imagine a jury saying, well, why didn't she leave? We also have to recognize that victims, it's not just females, it's males. Our gay, lesbian, and transgender population are at great risk. We also know from the data that we collect locally, and I want to caution, any numbers that I give you, any numbers that you hear from any organization is only the tip of the iceberg. It's what we know. And it's really important that we acknowledge the fact that we don't know where all the victims are. So for example, in the first 6 months of the year, the first 6 months of 2020, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department identified 59 minor victims. Now, that doesn't mean that there was only 59 victims in our community. We know that there's a disproportionate number of African American children that are being trafficked, and we had 4 that were 13 years or younger, and 47 of those 59 were local. They were children that live in our community, that were born in our community, that went to our schools. So I think that's another important thing that we have to understand, because it's not children coming from other countries. It's not children that are coming from other states, although that does happen, especially when we have big events on a weekend. Fight weekends are a priority where we have additional officers out looking to identify missing children. And that brings up another point. Every year, states will do a 2 to 3 week sort of collaboration between DEA, FBI, HSI, which is Homeland Security, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and they will scour the streets looking for missing children. There was recently information that came out that in the state of Georgia, there were 39 children that were rescued. And I'm going to come back to the word rescue in a minute. Those 39 children, 5 of them were victims of human trafficking. The others were missing children, some parental abduction. So again, we have to look at the big picture when we're looking at what these statistics really mean. And by the way, there was some misinformation that all of them were rescued out of a double-wide trailer. Now, going back to that word rescued, we have to be really careful. We rescue puppies. We rescue kittens from the well. We don't rescue people. We empower them to heal. The words that we use when we're doing outreach, when we're doing social media, when we're doing community awareness is so important. And we do a lot of training around what words to use. For example, when you think of a 14 or 15-year-old that is selling sex in exchange for money, she's a victim. She's not a teen prostitute. We don't use that word because by federal and state law, she's a victim of a crime, just like a sexual assault victim, just like a victim of child sexual abuse. Next slide. So the Southern Nevada Human Trafficking Task Force is a conglomeration, a collaboration, a partnership between state, local, and federal law enforcement, prosecutors, business owners, victim advocates, medical community, everybody. We need a whole village because each and every one of those victims, it's not as simple as getting them out of the situation. It's all of the layers, the medical, the emotional, the physical, the financial needs that come up. Many of them have been deprived of education. Think of a child that is trafficked and they're out of school for a period of time. We know how social media works and we know the networks within the schools, and then they return to school after they've been taken out of the life, they've gone through some therapy. Everyone knows where they've been. So it's a hard transition. And again, it goes back to that whole village. So when we're creating those public awareness campaigns, we have to be very cognizant of both the words that we use and the information that we provide, making sure that the statistics are vetted, that we're not perpetuating some of the myths that come out of social media, that hit the news, the misinterpretations. That's so critical. And what we try to do is we try to get as much vetted statistics that we are more than glad to share with anybody. And we also have multidisciplinary teams that do our training. And the reason we do it as a multidisciplinary team, law enforcement and a victim advocate, and maybe even a business owner, is because I call it the good housekeeping seal of approval. When you see law enforcement hand in hand with a victim advocate, it gives credibility to them. When we have business owners standing up as part of our team, we see that there's much more success. When we ask a business owner to post the hotline, for example, we work very closely. Our hotels have been amazing partners with us, putting information in the back of the house and training employees at all different levels as to how to identify a potential victim. Next slide. So one of the things that's really important is when we're out doing public awareness campaigns, when we're doing education and training, we're not asking the individuals, once they identify a potential victim, to then go ahead and quote unquote save that person. We want them to reach out to the professionals. And we partner with the RISE program, which is out of our Rape Crisis Center. And RISE stands for Resources, Integration, Services, and Empowerment, which really is exactly what we want to do for each and every victim to help them become a survivor. We provide training, outreach, education. They respond 24/7 with law enforcement. And this is really important because when we're responding to victims, it is very rare that they say, yes, I want help. It is very rare. Usually there's a little bit of spitting and cursing and yelling and screaming and denying and, hating the police. We want them to get help, even if they won't cooperate with law enforcement, which is why we have victim advocates on scene, because they can make that initial connection. And we want to make sure that all of the services that are provided are victim-centered and trauma-informed. One of the biggest problems that we have in our community is a broken foster care system. And that broken foster care system is based on, and I've talked to foster care providers and administrators around the country, and the biggest problem is it's the warm body theory. We don't have enough families for these children. But what we also know is that children that have been exploited, sex trafficking victims, even labor trafficking victims that are juveniles, two things happen. One is they were throwaway children. We know that a majority of our runaways are children out of the foster care system. So they were thrown away, so to speak, into the foster care system. And then they were not reported missing for 14 days or more. That sends a really strong message. We know that these children have significant needs that differ from a child who is neglected or a child whose parents are unable to care for them because they're either incarcerated or there's medical issues or substance abuse. These children have significant needs that are not being addressed, which is why after 14 days of being missing, foster parents are going, oh, I'm so glad that we can finally have a quiet dinner, as opposed to, being concerned about that child. And we hear stories about children being placed on the corner with that plastic bag filled with their belongings, and the foster parent calling their caseworker saying, I can't do this anymore. This is where the child is. So it's a broken system. It's a system that we have to work together to educate and support foster parents so that they have the resources. So we don't ask people, when you identify a victim, to start providing services. We ask people to reach out and be able to access the services that do exist, that we know are there, that we know are victim-centered and trauma-informed. Next slide. So here's my contact information. I'm allowing some time for some immediate questions, but I really encourage you, since, as I said earlier, I just kind of put that fire hose out there and let it go. So I really hope that you'll reach out if you have questions, if you want more specific data, if you want more information about resources. We have a Facebook page that we encourage people to visit. We post information, and that's LVMPD Human Trafficking Task Force. And we don't allow posting of questions or comments. We handle those privately. But I really encourage you to, reach out. We can connect you. We're looking at creating some virtual community meetings. We used to do quarterly community meetings where we would do a little bit of training and allow some networking and introduce people to each other. Unfortunately, going virtual with 200 people is a little bit more challenging. We used to get upwards of 150 to 200 people sometimes at our meetings. So we're looking at some virtual trainings, and we can keep you in the loop so that you can have access to these mini trainings. And I really welcome any questions. You can email me, and thank you so much for giving me this time.
Oh, this has been very, very interesting. And our committee that is meeting about this discussed how we can become involved. And I think you hit on a key component. No, we're not going to physically go out and try to talk to these folks. We want to bring awareness to the situation. Is that correct, Michael?
Yes, that is correct. We just want to do an awareness campaign. We will not have any contact with victims or work with them. That is not our reason for the committee and what we want to do.
And we absolutely appreciate that. In fact, I am going to send, Michael, I can send it to you, and then you are welcome to share it. On the 24th, we're doing from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. It's virtual. It is marketing for our community about human trafficking. It's a workshop that was done up north in person, and unfortunately, we now have to do it virtually. But it's a training about how to market, how to do outreach programs. So I will send that to you. You are welcome to share it, and then RSVP by the 21st if you want, and we'll be sending out the link. We're not sure what platform we're going to use just yet, because Zoom, a lot of agencies don't allow it. So we're looking at a couple different platforms. So this is another opportunity to kind of fill your toolbox with some resources. So I will send you that invitation.
Oh, that's great, because education and awareness is really part of what our club needs to do.
Linda, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. You mentioned in there something about labor trafficking. How prevalent is that compared to the sex trafficking?
You know what? Labor trafficking is more difficult to identify. It is absolutely something that is prevalent, but we just don't know the scope of it, because sex trafficking, you'll see, for example, the victims might be walking in certain areas in the community, soliciting business, or in the hotels or whatever. Labor trafficking happens behind closed doors, and there's a lot of reasons that people don't report it when they themselves are victims, or it doesn't come to our attention. So it happens a lot more than we know, but it is absolutely something that does happen in our community.
Lynn, in October, on the 24th of October, our district hosts a peace conference online. And it's virtual this year, but last year I attended in person, and human sex trafficking was one of the topics. It was just mind-blowing what we learned at that conference. And that conference this year, October 24th, is virtual, and it's free, and it's open to the public. And all of that information is in our newsletter.
I am making a note of that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I'll send you the information after the meeting. Who else has a question for Lynn?
Lynn, do you work with or coordinate with local organizations that kind of specialize in this area?
We absolutely do. And that was, for example, the RISE program is one of them. I sort of call them the head of the octopus. We filter into them, and then they reach out to lots of community organizations. And we're very, very careful. We try to vet them to make sure that they have the proper training, that they are responding to victims in a trauma-informed and sensitive way, and that they understand human trafficking. We could not do this without our community partners.
Anyone else have a question?
Linda, I have one. It's Dave Paget. How are you? Lynn, it's nice listening to you, and I kind of had a couple of aha moments as I was listening to your presentation. I just had a question, and I thought Michael said it eloquently, what our focus is as a club, but is there anything else that a club like ours can do that's diverse, made up of a lot of small business owners, that would be assistance to your efforts?
Well, the awareness is, and when I first met Michael, that was my, wow, we have this incredible group of people that can help raise awareness. But we ask our business owners to be aware. For example, we did a campaign about a year ago with some of the 7-Eleven businesses to post information about human trafficking. It's those clerks at 2 a.m. that can identify the victim that comes in on a fairly regular basis at 2 a.m. to get a soda or use the restroom. So having that information available is really important. There's lots of opportunities with some of our nonprofit partners for volunteer work throughout the year. These are some of the things that we engage our businesses and our business community to get involved with. We also do a lot of outreaches, and we select areas, and having businesses that have information about human trafficking, the national hotline, for example, the national hotline number posted so that someone can call and get information or get support. And we are connected with the national hotline. They filter those calls back to us in real time.
That's great.
Thank you.
We are very active on social media, Lynn, and I went and liked your page while you were speaking. And if you could reciprocate and like our page, then we'll be connected and we can share things.
Absolutely.
And that's another way that our members and small business owners can assist you, is by sharing the information on their Facebook and LinkedIn pages. And I think it's a good thing to all work together.
Absolutely.
Michael's having a committee meeting tonight. Michael, would you like to talk about the meeting and if anyone is interested in joining your committee?
Yes, our meeting will be at 5 o'clock on Zoom. This is going to be a meeting that's going to highlight the issue of sex trafficking for committee members and guests who participate. Cosette Vergari, who is on the meeting this morning, will be one of the speakers. She will be talking about the program that she developed in the Los Angeles area. We're going to have Kim Mall. She is a sex trafficking survivor. She was trafficked when she was beginning around 11 years old. And what was really, for me, a stunning revelation is that she was adopted, but her adopted parents didn't even know that she was being sex trafficked. That was interesting. And our third speaker tonight is Alex, the executive director of St. Jude's Ranch in Boulder City. They work with abused children, but she will be focusing on how they help children who have been sex trafficked. So that's at 5 o'clock tonight. Email me and I will send you the link for the meeting tonight.
Excellent. And President-elect Michael Turner, thanks for bringing this great program along with Pat Riley, who books our speakers. I think it was terrific. We need to move on, and we're going to move on to our craft talk this morning with Lynn Redd.
Morning, everyone. I'm Glenn, previous past president, assistant governor. I've had 4 distinct chapters of a pretty long journalism career. Washington correspondent covering the White House, Congress, the Federal Reserve, New York reporter covering business and Wall Street. I've been editor of 4 newspapers in New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. I've developed web worlds during the ascent of the internet in the late 90s. And then I was publisher of magazines in print and digital on Cape Cod until 3 years ago when I closed up shop, moved cross country to Vegas for a new adventure, which leads me to a new craft that I'm working hard to learn, volunteering. Without a 10 to 12 hour work week anymore, I finally have the time and energy to devote to community. And for this, I'm forever grateful to the Summerlin Rotary Club and District 5300. They're not only my new headquarters, but they're my inspiration, where I can be nourished by friends and colleagues sharing the same values and hunger to serve above self. So let me share in a few minutes my volunteer priorities, just as each of you have yours. Feeding the needy. In 3 hours, I'll be joined by 60 other Rotarians as we deliver with dignity fully prepared meals to those in our city who are housebound and hungry. This is designed today as Rotary Food Heroes Day, but by connecting with Delivering with Dignity, there's new continuous opportunities to volunteer weekly, delivering food during the pandemic, helping homeless teens. Through Rotary, I'm now part of the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, meeting inspiring young men and women who gain food and housing security to battle deprivation and loneliness. Especially during the pandemic, that's stolen what little security they've had while in school. While we cannot cook for them at the shelter as we have in the past, we're now innovating a virtual dinner program that all of you are invited to join. We prepare full menus, provide recipes, buy and deliver meals, and by computer now, we'll join them and their staff not only to prepare the meals, but help them learn about the nutritional value of their ingredients. Impacting youth through arts. You've all heard about this, but as president, I was very fortunate to meet Diane Zapek, who's now a fellow Summerlin Rotarian. But as development director of UNLV's Fine Arts College, she introduced me to Dean Nancy Usher, and together we've designed the Arts Impact Lives. Bright UNLV students are trained to teach dance, drama, art, design, and more to high school students at Palo Verde. The program, unfortunately, like so many others, have been halted by the pandemic. So UNLV's amazing staff have now created a virtual program that even includes avatars that now not only can teach and inspire high school students, but now will be reaching out to junior high students. And because it's virtual and recorded, it can be imported to any school by any Rotary club, helping pre-K children and their families read and learn. Again, you know about this program that's been partnered with another Rotarian, Rotarian of the Month, Melissa Kaiser. It's a powerful curriculum of reading, play, fine motor skills, and teamwork that will become the focal point of a district-wide initiative moving into the future. And while the pandemic has halted live classes, we're beginning to rethink how it can be provided directly to families online. And the curriculum itself is mobile, scalable, and capable of being adopted by Rotary clubs district-wide, if not nationally. And finally, mentoring high school students to help them graduate. Once again, a fellow Rotarian, Tammy Hance, has introduced us all to communities and schools and the opportunity to mentor high school students in danger of dropping out because they're having difficulties keeping up with their classmates. And amazingly, this program has managed to graduate 99% of the students who participate. So those are my passions as I try to craft them into a sustainable volunteer work program. And I always ask, what are your passions? I'm grateful to Linda for asking me to co-chair the Youth Services Committee, where most of my volunteer activities can now gain traction. And with that in mind, Greg Townsend and I invite all of you next Tuesday, the 22nd at 5 p.m. Our committee will be exploring how we can divert funds originally earmarked for programs that won't occur because of the pandemic to initiatives that will resonate during these unprecedented times. For example, we can support Discovery Children's Museum's program that brings kids and their families without internet access into the museum, not only so they can participate with other classmates in lessons, but also get their breakfasts and lunches for nutrition. So what are your ideas? We need your collaboration and creativity during these most challenging times. And I look forward to having many of you join us next Tuesday. Thanks for listening. And very much thanks for being a fellow Summerlin Rotarian.
Well, Glenn, you're just terrific. And you've accomplished something very few have, and that's to get 10 Rotary clubs in Las Vegas to participate on a project. That's mind-blowing. It's great. Anybody have questions for Glenn? Oh my goodness, I guess you just nailed it. So let's go on to a little community service update from Jill Branson and Glenn.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to first thank those who showed up this past Saturday for the shredding event. And that would be Greg Townsend, Linda, Randy, and Pamela Woods, and of course, Ronnie, the star of the show, and Diane Zapek. So I thank you very much. And then I'd also like to thank those that have written cards for the Hero Lunch, the Food Heroes Day. There's several of us that have done that, and they're going to be inserted into the meals and handwritten from our members for so they see that it's coming from us and we care. And also, I'd like to say, if you could it would be greatly appreciated. We are now doing the Heights of Summerlin as our senior facility. And if you could please contact Gail or myself, that would be great before you send anything. Or if you want to do cards and it's difficult for you to deliver, or you'd like some help, please contact either one of us and we'll be happy to help you out with that. We are going to continue doing some of the projects that we do every year. Right now, we're trying to see how it's going to go with the Salvation Army, Santa Claus, and things like that. But there are many things in the future that will be safe and fun.
Oh, Jill, you and your committee have done a great job, and you have a meeting coming up if anyone would like to join the community service.
Yes, we are now going to be meeting on a regular basis once a month on the fourth Monday at 5 o'clock by way of Zoom.
Excellent. Any questions for Jill? And Glenn, would you just like to give us a brief update on today? You have how many volunteers today?
If everybody shows, we'll have between 62 and 64 volunteers representing 9 of the clubs in the Valley. They'll be reporting to 4 different restaurants distributed geographically. They'll be delivering certainly not as many as the 1,290 meals that this check is paying for. This is an $8,000 check that was facilitated through District 5300 from RI. It is a complicated day, but even if we trip along the way, they get $8,000. It looks pretty good. And I'm amazed at how many new Rotarians I've had the privilege of meeting over the last few weeks to organize this event across the Valley. Pretty exciting day. Getting some good publicity through Delivering with Dignity, and we'll share that publicity with everybody as well.
And I'll be at Honey Salt today. And about what time are all the volunteers gathering today?
Everybody has to gather at 11 o'clock. They have to line up in their cars. It's extremely safety protocol. They work with an app that leads them to their designated locations. It should all be over by 1 o'clock.
And everybody needs to bring a signed waiver with them to participate in the project. And if you're outside of your vehicle with other people and you're representing Summerlin Rotary, please have your mask on, right, Glenn?
Yep, and if you want, you can wear your Rotary, Summerlin Rotary Work and Fun shirts as well.
Yes, I have a truck full of those shirts right now, and I'm pretty sure that my neighbors are certain that I'm a drug dealer because cars come and pull up in front of my house at all hours. They pick up little packages from my front door. Sometimes they leave things. So, you know, you do what you have to, right? All right, let's move on in the program. Thank you, Glenn and Jill. And let's go to Happy Bucks. We have about 6 minutes left in our program today. And we have a program of 4-way test Happy Bucks. So if you say something happy, we do expect that you click on this bill on our newsletter and donate something to designate your happiness. Who goes first? Okay, I'll go first. Lee Weber, go ahead.
All right. Some of you know I was dragged or coaxed out of retirement as a pastor, and I'm now pastoring a church in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. And this past Sunday and the Sunday before that, we opened up to in-person worship, and we're the guinea pigs for a whole district. And if we were able to do it successfully, then other churches were going to be able to do it as well. Took a lot of work with a lot of preparations for safety, obviously, but we did it, and we are excited, and the church is growing again. So
excellent.
I'm really happy.
Past District Governor Lee Weber asked me before I took over as president, what do you need from me? And I told him, I need you back. And here he is. Thank you very much. Thanks for inducting our new member this morning.
You're welcome.
I am happy that we've had another terrific virtual meeting this morning. We have so many guests, and we have a great new initiative with the human sex trafficking to concentrate on for next year in our fundraising. Who's next?
I'll be next.
All right. Go, Jill.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to say thank you very much to Kimberly for deciding that this was the club she wants to be in. I think it's going to be a great asset for us, as I said before. And then also, I just want to say what a wonderful meeting this was. And Elaine, what a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much.
Great. So agree. And who is next?
I'll go next.
All right, Kimberly.
All right, I'm happy to be here, and I am so looking forward to learning and growing with all of you.
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll get you in there right away. I think that you probably heard a few avenues of service this morning, and I'm sure you'll be assigned a mentor by our membership committee who will educate you on how you can engage. Anybody else have a happy buck?
Yeah, I'll do that, Linda. You know, hey, it was great to sponsor this morning, and I certainly appreciate the extra time I got as well, because it's tough to explain what I do.
Sure. Well, Dave came on to the Zoom room early. We opened the Zoom room at 7:15, and I would encourage any sponsor to do that because he was given additional time to tell the rest of us the services that he offers. And I have to admit that I didn't completely understand your business until today. And vocational service is a big part of our club. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
We have a couple of minutes left. Dave Cabral, would you like to talk about the professional development seminar coming up?
Yes, I would. We have in 2 weeks on the 29th of September are restarting our professional development series. And I'm kind of excited about this one. It's a different format than what we've done before. It's a panel discussion. We have 4 panelists or 4 topics we're going to be talking about. 4 panels to 3 topics, actually. The first is Mike Pequeen. He is with Hightower Investments, and he's going to be talking about the economy and what's going on. And mostly the focus of this whole panel is where are we going from here going forward into the future, the post-pandemic recovery. What does it mean for Las Vegas businesses, and for all of us? So he's going to be talking about the economy. We have Hillary Gray from Allegiant Airlines, who is going to be speaking about the tourism industry and flying in the airline industry. And then we have our own Christy Sergino and Maxine Linehan, who together are going to be talking about the real estate market in Las Vegas, where it is today, where they see it going. So it should be really informative. It's on September 29th, Tuesday night. It's at 5 p.m. We will be done by 6 because I understand that's the first presidential debate has been set for that date. So it starts at 6.
All right.
So we'll be done so that you can be sure to get onto that if you're interested. But it's free, it's easy to get onto, and we'd love to have everyone join and participate. I think it'll be really worth your while. I think we're going to get some good information. I'm really excited about that.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. And Glenn Ritt, would you like to lead us out of the meeting with the 4-way test? Glenn Ritt, would you like to lead the 4-way test?
I'll unmute myself.
All right.
The 4-way test. Is it the truth? Will it fix to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much. And buy wine tickets. We're at $3,150, but we need 5,000. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.